Good morning, everybody. We are live. This is Kevin at Scentual Obsessions. I'm going to wait and let some people come in, but you can see by the title of the live what we're going to talk about today. And in the past, I used to have a whole bunch of people, even actually to this day, I have a lot of people asking me, how did you get started? How did you get into the perfume business, making your own fragrances? Did you go to school for it? So I'm going to answer all those questions for you. I'm not going to go too much into my personal life. I'm not trying to get too emotional, I'm not the emotional type in front of people, but it's been a long journey. It's been a lot of ups and downs. A lot of trial and error. What's going on, SWM Fragrances? Hope you're doing good today. Hi, Ann. Thanks for coming in. But I'm going to tell you my journey and what it took to get where I'm at. And I'm not even where I need to be. I'm just a small business. I want to create jobs for other people. Right now, I got one part-time employee. That's it. And my sister was working with me, and she went out and she got a full-time job and got a boyfriend, moved in with that, you know that whole deal. But I'm just trying to grow my business and create jobs, Like, I like helping people out. That's why I'm always giving giveaways. When you come into my shop, very rarely do you pay full price for anything. Or if you do, you're at least walking out with free bottles of old testers and stuff like that, free samples, always. So we're always doing, trying to do good for everybody. It's not always about how much money can we make, how many sales can we make. Because when you come into our shop, it's all about, we have so many fragrances to begin with, but when you come into our shop, we're not trying to push a fragrance on you. We're not trying to make you buy a certain fragrance like they do when you go into certain department stores. But what we do, we ask you, what you're looking for. What kind of fragrances do you like? And then we'll recommend those fragrances for you. We're not going to sit there, if you tell us you like something fresh, we're not going to sit there and start picking out tobacco fragrances because we want to sell them. That's not how you get customers and make your customers happy. So when you come into our shop, you can feel free to try any testers on the wall. You don't have to have someone standing over you. I give you room. If you have any questions, always ask me. So, just know that we're generous when you come in and respectful, and we're not going to hover over you, but we'll answer any questions you have and try to find you the right fragrance for what you're looking for. And if not, we make custom fragrances, so I can make pretty much anything you want. I've already made fragrances that smell like, this is one of my favorites, the gum fruit stripes. We call it fruit twist. That gum back in the day that was the best tasting gum in the world. It was the best tasting gum, but it only lasted like 5 or 10 seconds. And then the taste was gone. But that first 5 or 10 seconds it was good. So I wanted to make a fragrance based off of that. What would I have to do to get something sent out? We are sending out packages to reviewers. I have 3 left. So I'll have to check your page out. And as long as you're doing reviews and everything, we can send them out. But if not, we do have buy one, get one free today in our final edition section using code BOGO123. Or we still have this code, Golden15 for 15% off your complete order. But we are sending out sample packs and stuff to some reviewers. So I forget where I left off at. I was just talking about when you come into our store, you're going to be treated well. But that's not what this live is about. This live is about what is Scentual Obsessions and how did it come to be? That's the question. So I don't even know how to tell how many people are in here. If anyone knows, let me know. Is it in the top right hand corner up here? I just see some like circles with numbers in it. I have 7 hearts. Okay, viewers right here on the side. I'm afraid to hit the button. I don't want to end the live or anything. But yeah, so I just want to do a video, a live on what is Scentual Obsessions, who are we, and how did we get where we're at today, 8 years later. Actually, it's been over 8 years. We're going to go through the whole journey. It's been, man, it's been like 12 years now since I got into fragrances. It's been, maybe 10. 10, no, actually, no. It's been like 10 or 11. 10 or 11 years. I've been making my own for the last, it's been like 8 years now. It was after Irma. It was because I moved to Florida right after Irma. All right, we're going to get into this. How many viewers we got? All right, it don't matter because you guys want to see the Scentual Obsessions journey of how we got to where we are. So, anyways, what are we? What's Scentual Obsessions? We are known for being a clone house. We make high-quality dupes, clones, whatever you want to call them, of originals. We started out doing just designers. I didn't even know about the niche community. So, but we'll get into that. I don't want to get off track, but yeah, we make high-quality fragrances, all mixed at 33% oil concentrate. All of our fragrances, they use other high-quality ingredients. So we're not watering anything down. We're giving you the best of the best with amazing performance, longevity, and we're going to give you a denser fragrance. It's not going to be as bright and airy as like the originals are. It's going to be more dense. It's going to hit you with more power. Let's put it that way. When people spray our fragrances, especially anyone who hasn't tried a cologne like these, they're like, wow, these are really strong. And they're like, they last all day. So the people are really amazed when they actually try them out. But recently, I started getting into more originals. We now have over 80 originals in our lineup that I came up with myself. So I'm trying to focus more on originals because I have more control. I can do what I want. And you can make stuff that's different that not everybody has. I'm trying to put myself out from the rest of just selling clones. What's going on, Fragrance Baz? These Florida bugs, man, I tell you. It's the only thing I hate about Florida. Well, not the only thing, but I forget where I was at. So what I'm trying to do is set myself apart from just not being a clone house. So now we do originals. Now, yeah, we do custom hybrids where you can pick any 2 fragrances on the website and we'll do a 50-50 blend. It's only going to be a 50-50 blend. But we'll do that for you. We'll mix 2 fragrances together. I'm not big on the hybrids just because, you know, other brands are doing that. I thought about this years ago. I was like, oh, what if I mix 2 fragrances or 3 fragrances together and make one? But no, that's not original enough. So I wanted to lean more towards the original side. And now that's why I'm giving you the opportunity. You can go on the website and create your own fragrance. So if you have like a formulation in mind, you just tell me the notes, as long as they're on the list that I have, which I have over 100 notes. But you'll give me the notes, top, middle, and base, and the percentages. Once they add up to 100%, you got your formula, and I'll make it for you. Now, it is kind of hard because you don't know how strong some notes are. You don't know what it's going to smell like. Usually when I'm making a fragrance, what I do is I dab a little bit of oil on each test strip, put them in front of my face and wave them. And that gives you a general idea of what the fragrance is going to smell like. And the more oil you put on is the more that you're going to put in your formula. So if there's something you don't like, it's throwing it off. You just take one of the test strips out, you know, and adjust it from there. But online, you can't do that, so it's hard. But what you can do is, say you make a formula and you get it, you can work off of that formula. If there's something you don't like in it or something you want to add. But also, we have a bespoke section, and that's where this will come in handy if you don't know what you want. Basically, you're going to go on the website, go to the bespoke section, and you're just going to tell us what you're looking for in a fragrance. Yeah, you're just going to tell us what notes you like, maybe what setting. Describe. I want a fragrance that's fresh for the beach or on vacation, or something for your town. I'll make a fragrance based on your city or whatever you want. So we can do that. That service is a little bit higher, but we're doing all the work for you, coming up with the formula. And what we do is we get in contact with you just to go over the formula before we make it. So that's what we're trying to do, is set ourselves apart, not just being a clone house, which is what we're known for, but I'm focusing more on originals and people creating their own fragrances. And with that, I do have, I believe, 2 perfume workshop kits on the website where you can pick out 10 different fragrance notes or pick the same, whatever you want. And we'll ship you the kit, and you can actually create your own fragrance right in your own house. And there's enough oil to do some testing, enough ingredients. We give you a scale, we give you a crimping tool, we give you the bottle, the box, everything. We give you everything you need, all the ingredients. Yeah, so we give you all the ingredients you need to make your own formula at home. So that's what we're trying to do. But that's who we are. Now, how did we get here? So, I would say it was probably 2014, 2015. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, PA. I live in Cape Coral, Florida now. My shop's in Fort Myers, though. But 8 years ago, it all started. I was working a job as a cook at a nursing home. I appreciate you, brother. And I was working as a cook at a nursing home. I was a cook for 18 years. I started as a cook when I was 21. Didn't know anything about cooking, just like perfumery. So I was making like $6.50 an hour at the time. Yeah, $6.50 an hour. And I was a dishwasher doing some prep cook. I didn't even know how to dice an onion when I started this job, I didn't like to work. My work ethic sucked back then. But then I moved in with my dad. He helped me out, and I got on the right track. But it was rough there when I was younger for a few years after graduation. But I started that job. So I was doing good. The one cook, so me and her, was really good. She was probably 20 years older than me. She was really cool. And we did a lot of prep work, and we banged out a lot of prep work. The one time we prepped for the whole week. So we went in, we didn't have nothing to do but cook the meals. But at that point, I didn't know how to cook. So they wanted to have a meeting with me. And I'm thinking, what, am I fired? What did I do? You want to have a meeting with me? So they take me in the dining room, sit me down, and they're like, we want you to be the next cook. And I'm like, I don't know anything about cooking. They're like, we'll teach you. And so I was like, nah, I'm cool with what I'm doing. I'm cool doing these dishes, I mean, I really wasn't. I was paying $6.50, maybe $6.25. But so I had the head chef, my friend Sherry, the lady I was telling you about, her sister, who was a prep cook and dishwasher. She did everything. And then we had, it was the kitchen manager was there too. All sat me down and wanted me to be the cook. And I'm like, I don't even know how to cook. I don't know how to thicken anything. I was like, I don't even know what cornstarch is. What's a roux? I didn't know any of this. They're like, well, we think you can do it. I'm like, no. I still said no. And then they're like, it's more money. Okay. I mean, if it's more money, whatever. So that's how I started becoming a cook. So I went from $6.50 to $7.40. Wow. But let me tell you, till this day, this was my favorite job I ever had. Everybody was amazing. I don't want to get all emotional. I've been emotional lately. Especially on live. I don't want to get emotional, but everybody I worked with at that job it was cool. It was the best job I ever had. I don't know why I'm getting emotional for that. It just brings back memories and good people. But so I worked as a cook over the years. So I ended up getting older. I was probably my mid to early 30s, and still working at nursing homes, cooking, struggling. And I got a job delivering pizza, doing both jobs. I said, I can't do this. I said, I got to do something. So I tried different businesses. I tried a vending business. I was successful. I had a successful deal with that. But nothing was cutting it. I couldn't find out what I needed to do. So I started selling Jordans at the flea market, because I used to collect Jordans shoes. And so I started selling them at the flea market. But I was getting lowball. People didn't, want to pay the price. There was it wasn't a good business to actually make money and really make people happy at the same time, So immediately I was at the flea market, and I Googled what sells best at the flea market. And this Greek guy showed up. His name's Wholesale Harry. To this day, I still give him credit for getting me into the perfume game. So Wholesale Harry he's from Long Island. If you don't know who he is, go Google him, or no, go on YouTube. But he's literally at the flea market. I got Gucci, I got Prada, and he's handing out. He's selling cases and cases. He's selling like 1,000 bottles a day at the flea market. But then he has these signs that says "Start your own business," and I'm like, are these legit? Like, what? I was like, how is he selling Gucci? How is he doing this? For $5 a bottle. I'm like, that's weird. So I looked into it, and it said "Start your own business." So I called him up. I said, hey, I want to order. We went over everything. He's like, you're not ready to order yet. Because to him, he wasn't just trying to sell to people just to sell. He wanted people that can actually sell the product and then come back to him. So he felt at the time I wasn't ready. He's like, just because you have a product doesn't mean it sells. Look at McDonald's. They don't sell steak. They sell $2 cheeseburgers now, and it's $1 billion company. So it's not the product that sells. It's you and just your business, and it's not the product that sells. Let me tell you that. So I was disappointed because I had the money at the time. I only needed $300 so I can order 100 bottles. So that was the wholesale price. $3 a bottle and sell them for $5. Or whatever you want to sell them for. He was selling for $5 because he was getting them by the cases. But so about 6 months later, I said, let's hit him up again. So I hit him up, and I was ready to order. Put my order in. And so I started ordering, and I got my first batch of fragrances in. So I did 10 each, 2 for $15, 3 for $20. Is that what I did, or 5 each? No, I didn't do. No, I did 10 each, 2 for $15, 3 for $20. So that's what I did to start out. I made a listing on my local flea market groups in Facebook, and fragrances came in. I took my pictures and everything, put my post, and everybody wanted to meet me. There was a couple places, but there was one place in particular in Canonsburg, PA, and because I lived in Bridgeville at the time, and I met like 10 people there, and they all did the 3 for $20. So anyways, by the end of the day, I was able to make my money back and still have 30 bottles left to get another order. So that's what I did. I did that, and it was going good. Well, let's fast forward a little bit, like another year or so, and I'm working at a new nursing home. And to this day, this nursing home, it wasn't my favorite, but my boss, he was the best. My boss, Luke. Yeah, he was the best boss. So I started working there, and I ended up, I was kind of disappointed because the summer was coming up, and the flea markets are only around for a few months in Pittsburgh. And so I was a little disappointed because I didn't have no one to do the flea market. I had a girlfriend at the time, but she was a raging alcoholic, and I hate to say that about her, but she was a raging alcoholic, and it was very stressful. There was days I would have to leave work because she's threatening to end herself. I don't want to say none on here, but because she's drunk off of drinking straight vodka. And I didn't know at the time, at the beginning, it was like this. I was oblivious until it was too late, and then I had to deal with what I had to deal with. So I was going through a lot at the time, and I just read something across the screen, and it kind of got away from me. But no, so it was a bad situation. So I ended up getting fired from that job because I was the cook. One of the girls wanted to, I call it insubordination. I tell you, hey, do this. I'm not mean, but they just had attitude with me, and I went off. I yelled at her. I said, go F yourself. But I said, you're fed up. You can only put up with so much. Anyways, so I made a Facebook post saying I went off. I was just like, oh, my head's going to explode. I can't take it. And they fired me for the Facebook post. Oh, it's on the screen. So actually, though, I took it as a blessing because that allowed me to sell fragrances at the flea market that summer. But what happened with me and my girlfriend at the time, the only way I knew to get rid of her, I didn't have the money to go to the magistrate or anything like that to actually evict her. So I knew the only way to get rid of her was for me to move out, that she would have to move back in with her dad, and I'll say, hey, I'm moving back in with my mom or my friend. And so that's what I did. So that ended. I moved back in with my mom. And right at that time, my friend Sherry that I was a cook with, we got in contact again. She's like, yeah, I moved to Florida last year. You should move down here. I love it. I was like, I've been wanting to move to Florida. I've never visited there, but I can't take the weather in Pittsburgh. Number one, it's bipolar. They tell you it's going to rain, it's sunny. They tell you it's sunny, it's going to rain, or it rains. And I couldn't take the winters. So I'm like, man, there's got to be something else out here better than like Pittsburgh or south of Pittsburgh where I'm from. So there's got to be more to life out there. So she said, yeah, we have an extra bedroom, me and my friend. She's like, let me make sure, because her friend's daughter was living there in and out at the time. She's like, yeah, I was like, well, as long as I have a place to go to, I'll come down. So she gave me the confirmation. Yeah, we definitely have a place for you. And I was like, well, I'm going to start saving my money. I'm going to do the flea market, do my cologne, and I'm going to move down there. I'm getting out of Pittsburgh. I'm going to restart my life, kind of. I was at 38 at the time. And so that I started the flea market. Hold on, I need to get a drink. Hold on 1 sec. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. I'm just not much of a talker like this. So I do appreciate everybody who is joining us. I don't know how many people's here. Can you tell me? So anyways, back to the story. Where did I leave off at? Hold on. Damn it. Where did I leave off at? Shit, I just drawed a blank. Like, okay, so, all right, that's what it is. I got fired from my job. I was like, so I can do the flea market now and do the cologne. Because I was doing really good with the cologne when I did it I had 1 weekend off a month. And I would make for the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday between two markets, I would make $700 to $1,000. Now, that's not all profit, but there was a lot of profit there because I was buying wholesale. So I thought it was a blessing when I got fired. It allowed me to do the flea market. So I did. And this is how it turned out to be. I actually, the whole summer, I was making as much in one weekend as I did in 2 weeks working my regular job. And that was selling generic versions, you know, of like Gucci, whatever. They smelled really good. They were good quality, but they didn't last long. And I think fragrances like that. What's up, Gwen? Thanks for joining. But I think fragrances like that, they only use the top notes. That's why they smell good at first, and then they don't last long because there's nothing else. They're just top notes to bring you in. And that's why they're cheap. I was selling those, making as much in 2 weeks, or making as much in one weekend as I did in 2 weeks of my regular job. So that allowed me to save up. I saved up like, it would have been more money, but I bought some Jordans. I spent like an extra $1,000 on Jordan at least. So I had $5,500 to my name. Moved to Florida, had a place to stay. You know, I gave her a couple $100 when I moved in, you know, just to be courteous. She didn't ask for money, but I'm the type of person, I can't stay with someone for free and not pay them, even though people do that to me all the time, or used to. It's not going to happen anymore, but yeah, it's not me. It's not who I am. So, but 2 weeks later, I ended up finding my own place. And man, I was excited. I said, I've been here 2 weeks, got my own place already. And I was starting over. So I only came with my clothes, and I think that was it. My clothes and like I had some boards and stuff. I would do 3 tiers for my display at the flea market, and I brought those. And I brought my tent. No, my tent was broke. My tent broke like the last week in Pittsburgh. It blew over, and I still survived. But so I had to buy a new tent. I had to buy all new fragrances, so I had to load up again. So I get my order in. I'm ready to go. I got my little spot at the flea market. I'm excited. I'm like, we're in Florida. I said, the weather's always nice here. We're going to do so good at the flea market. We got this spot right here in the back at the food court. Like, the food court was right in front of me. How can you go wrong, right? And the first 3 months, I'm used to making, you know, it was like $700 to $1,000 a weekend. Back home, I get down here. One day it was like $85. Another day was like $35. I'm like, what is going on? I was panicking. And you know, I'm talking to everybody else, oh, it's slow. And they're talking about how the years before everything would be packed. And it just so happens the first year I get down here, that went away. I appreciate you. Yeah, go ahead. But I was like, what is going on? It's completely dead. I went from making, like I said, $700 to $1,000 a weekend to, I was probably making about maybe $300 to $400 a weekend. Maybe. So let's just say I had my store for 3 months, and it was going slow. So I messaged this guy on YouTube. His name is Victor Antonio. He's saying, because I had all these signs, $10 each, blah, 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 blah. He said, you're selling them too cheap. Raise the price. So I'm like, raise the price? So I raised the price. That way I can negotiate. And it actually worked. But I don't know if it was that, because that's not the point. I moved out into the middle aisle after the first 3 months. So I got rid of the store because that was more expensive. So I'm out in the middle aisle where you got traffic on both sides now. And I would negotiate the price, you know, still give them the deal. But it made them feel like they were getting more of a deal because I was say it was $20. All right, I'm giving it to you for $10. So it was the same thing. You're still getting it for the same, but anyways, but moving out in the middle aisle was the key. It was definitely key. So after that, everybody liked the fragrances, but they said they don't last long. Of course, the generic knockoffs or versions do not last long. So what do? If someone gives me negative feedback, I always try to fix that. That's why I can take negative feedback. Because what I do, I take that negative feedback and I fix the problem. So I did some research. And actually, I didn't do research at this point. At this point, I was friends with somebody on TikTok. And they did at an oil company. They did oils. And, we're just talking. He's like, yeah, you should get into the oil game. And I'm thinking, oil, oils, they last long, or they're supposed to last long. There's Tyson. Say hi, Tyson. Say hi. He makes me happy. But, so I'm like, everyone's doing oils, though, I wanted to do something different. Hold on, buddy, get down. Get down, buddy. So I did some research, and that's when I started making my own fragrances. First one I ever made was Acqua di Gio, or Acqua di Gio, however you say it. Because back then, at the time, that was still one of the most popular ones. What's up, Lee? Good morning, brother. Let's see. So, I made Acqua Gio. I made it stronger. And I was like, we got something here. I did my research, all that, experimenting. And at the time, it wasn't as complicated as it is now. I've always looked to upgrade my formulas, always. I think I'm pretty set on what I have now. What I have now is I'm pretty good. I don't think I need to change anything. I'm satisfied. Even though in the past, customers were satisfied, but there was just some things I wanted different about the fragrances, like the how fast it releases off of your skin. I didn't want it to dissipate too fast. You don't want to do it too slow. You don't want to kill the fragrance. You don't want to dull it down. So, but anyways, so I started working with this guy, and I started making my own fragrances. Like I said, we did Acqua Gio. That was the first one. And then I just started doing more designers. Now, I didn't know anything about the Facebook or any of the fragrance community. I didn't know. So I came up with the name Scentual Obsessions because, I wanted it to be kind of like sexy in a way, provocative almost, but not, because, fragrances can be sexy. It can turn people on. So I wanted that aspect of it, but I also wanted it to be a session. I wanted people to be obsessed with my fragrances. I wanted people to love them and get them at a discounted price instead of paying an arm and a leg for stuff that's watered down. I just never understood that. And even before I got into my selling fragrances, it was just, I love wearing fragrances, but they were so expensive. For me, I was barely able to afford to pay my rent, so let alone buy fragrances. And then I ended up buying a knockoff at the flea market because I didn't know they made knockoff fragrances. Like, that's how oblivious I was. I didn't know. I said, it comes in the same package, it looks the same. So I would wear it, and I would go to work, and my boss had the same fragrance. It was Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue for Men, which I don't even like it, but at the time, everyone liked it, and I said, all right, let me get it. I was sprayed on before I went into work. I go into work. I smelled his strong. I'm like, man, I'm smelling me. I'm like, I can't even smell mine. So I'm thinking, I'm going nose blind. I just can't smell it, And, no, it was knockoff, watered down. Anyways, that guy, good for him, because I don't know if they caught him, but that flea market, they busted that place. And that guy got scared. They were there for some knockoff DVDs, pirated DVDs. That guy got scared, and He fled. He left all his cologne there, his glass stands. And then the police were like, or FBI, whoever it was like, why'd that guy just take up and leave? So they weren't even there for him. But that got rid of him. So that's when I was like, I want to make my own fragrances, and they have to last. So it wasn't just about getting the smell correct, but they have to last. And when I first started, I was like, well, even if I get the smell close and you know what it is, but just give it better performance. I was cool with that in the beginning, and everybody was cool with it. Actually, my friend who lives here with me, Bill, he's on some of my videos. To this day, he says that Aqua Geo that I made, and he still has a little bit of, or no, he just ran out. He said that's the best version I've ever made, according to him. Well, until I made an exact match version, and it's sure, we both weren't sure about it. We're like, I'm not sure. But he wore it to work, and he got all kinds of compliments. And when he got home, I smelled it on him strong. I was like, did you just put more on? He's like, no, I've had this on. So I think the exact match was better after he wore it, definitely, because he wore the heck out of it. It's gone too. Yes, I would love to get the actual OG bottle. I was on eBay before looking for the actual OG. My friend back in the day wore it, and it was amazing. It just smelled so good, and I still remember that smell. That smell reminds me of him and us hanging out. That's, it brings back memories. So there you go. So yeah, I did start explaining how. Did I start explaining how I got it? Yeah. So I did start explaining how I got into making them. I had a guy I was friends with on Instagram. He had an oil company. He was telling me, you should get into oils. And I was like, everyone's doing that. I wanted to do something different. So I did research on making my own fragrances or stronger fragrances, something like that. And so I did my research, started ordering the oils and supplies, made my first fragrance, and that was Aqua Geo. I appreciate you, Zach. Yes, definitely. Yeah, because I'm taking off today, so I got time to get to all the messages today. Yeah, so I started there experimenting, and it was good. But I was selling them at the flea market. I only made the Aqua Geo, though. And then I started adding more. Yes, it is nice. Thank you, Wendy. But so I started making more, but I was only doing designers because I didn't know about the Facebook community, the fragrance community on Facebook. I didn't know none of that. I thought I had something different. I thought I was the only person doing this. Yes. When I started this business, I thought I was the only one making stronger fragrances that smelled alike. And someone said something, they mentioned a name. I'm not going to say brand names on here, but they said, do you know who so-and-so is? I'm like, no, I have no clue. And that's when I started seeing, that's when I found out about the Facebook fragrance community, and then seeing all these other brands on there. And then I seen someone with a video of reviewing another brand, and I'm like, wonder how my fragrances really are. I think they're good, but let's see a professional, I'm thinking anyone who does a video is a professional, or they have some idea, to compare. So I sent out some fragrances to some reviewers, and they all got really good feedback. And that's how it started. I just had, it caught on from there. It was YouTube and feedback. And then eventually I had a lot of reviewers hitting me up. Hey, my name's so-and-so. Can we review your products? And they still do to this day. But back then, it's like, who am I? I think they were just interested, curious, like, who's Scentual Obsessions, Packaging was horrible. Labeling was horrible. It was just all simple. And let me say, I did start my business. Like I said, if we go back to the beginning, 2014-15, when I placed my first order for those 100 bottles, I spent $300. And at the time, I appreciate it. Yes, definitely. And at the time, I was trying to I'm kind of getting off track, but we'll get back. At the time, I wanted someone to go in half with me. I was like, yeah, definitely. You could do a review in the shop. That would be cool. So I was trying to get people to go $150, half and half with me. Nobody wanted to do it. They didn't think it would succeed. I even asked my mom. She said no. She's working a job. What she want to do? But even my best friend at the time, no, it's not going to succeed. Everyone doubted me. Everybody. So what I did, I started out. I bought wholesale, and I tried to get other people involved and try to make some extra money for myself, but also give other people room to make money. And I found like one or two people to do that. They bought wholesale off of me. We both made money. So everybody was happy. But everybody doubted me. They didn't think my business would work. But at the time, I didn't even think about making my own fragrances. So, I'm going off track again, but we're getting back to track. So from there, the guy, Victor Antonio on YouTube, he made that video for me, telling me just my prices. But he said, what you need to do is make your own fragrances, start your own brand. He's like, and then you'll be making money, and making people happy. So I said, he got a point. I got to build my own brand. And that's when I started, I was like, I got to make my own fragrances. So that's what it was. I forgot that part. So I was talking to the guy who had the oil company. And then at the same time, Victor Antonio made this video like a month or two prior. So I'm putting two to two together, start my own brand, make my own fragrances. Light bulb. I can make my own fragrances. Didn't know. So I said, how do we do this? Let's do some research. I did lots of research, lots of trial and error, lots of different formulas. Like, what does this do? What if I put these together? How does that perfect the performance? Some batches, I added too much of a certain ingredient and it flattened it. It dulled it out. Others, I didn't add too much and it really didn't do nothing, or it dissipated too fast, or, it just wasn't right. So I've always been looking to upgrade, but where I'm at now, I'm very happy with my formula. I don't have any desire to change it. And all of our fragrances are mixed at 33% oil concentration also, along with other high quality, expensive ingredients, not to mention the oils themselves. So, all right, we're getting back on track. So, I moved to Florida, go in the flea market, make my own fragrance, and I probably got like 20 fragrances, I think. 20. I think I'm balling out. I got 20 fragrances here that I made, and then I have the knockoffs still that I'm trying to get rid of. They're the ones selling because they look all fancy and stuff. People, what are these? These little bottles, why are they so much? At the time, they were, I think, $20 for a 30 ml. That's less ingredients and stuff, but I mean, that's a good price. But I was actually doing 50 ml bottles for $35. It was $35, yeah. And that still wasn't good enough. But the people who did try them, they liked them, but they were just hesitant. They wasn't, they didn't see nothing like that. And at the time, I thought I was the only one doing this. But anyways, long story short, we're doing the flea market here in Florida. It's going horrible. I'm stressing out. I'm calling my mom. Mom, my savings went from $5,500. It was down to, it was like $800. And my rent at the time, I wish it was still the same, but I got a house now. But my rent at the time was like $700 a month. And I had $800 to my name. I had a car payment. I had to pay my rent at the flea market, which was expensive. It was like $300 a month. And just for 12 days. So I was stressing out, borrowed money off of my mom. And everybody at the flea market's complaining, this is slow. Last year it was packed. What's going on? And people said, everyone's saying, oh, it's online, it's online. Everyone's shopping on Amazon. Everybody's online. And in my head, I loved doing the flea markets. I loved waking up at 4 in the morning. I loved going there. I loved interacting with the vendors who were there with me. We had a great time. I loved interacting with the customers. I mean, I really loved doing the flea market. It was so fun, and you met so many good people. And it was different every day. Every day was different. But where's I going? I was going off track again. So, yeah, the flea market was definitely really good. But that's where I was going. Everybody was complaining that everyone's shopping online, and I never used Amazon at the time. I went on there, and all I saw was like books and stuff, and like comparisons, and it was confusing to me at first. I didn't look into it, but I knew everybody said, the off season is dead. I'm like, well, if the off season is dead, and I'm only making this much now, I'm not going to survive. I have to go back home. So, but when I did move out into the center aisle, my sales went from probably $400 a month to probably maybe $1,500 a month, maybe. And it's not cutting it. I'm not going to do it, So, yeah, man, the flea markets, people just aren't going out, and I think it really is. People are just getting lazier and shopping online, and not even lazier. People get busier lives. We're all busy. Everyone's busy, man. So maybe that's it. So what I did was, I don't like feeding into all that. I don't like to make excuses. But sometimes you got to look at reality, what's going on. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to move back home. I'm going to stay with my mom. They get really busy over here in South. You know what? That's funny, because when I moved here and like everything was slow, and I said Texas would be a good place, like Houston, stuff like that. And yeah, I just figured, Texas would be good. The one old guy next to me, Larry, he probably passed away now. He was a good guy. He actually, after the flea market, he moved back to Texas where he was from. But he was saying, the flea markets in Texas are different, totally different, RGV 956. Hold on. RGV doesn't sound familiar. 956. That area code. I'm not sure. What's RGV? I'm drawing a blank. I started going to the... Okay, craft shows. I never did the craft shows. Oh, Rio Grande Valley. I'm not sure where that's at. Rio Grande. I know cities. I'm good with like cities and stuff like that. But anyways, not to get off topic. So where we leave off at? We're at the flea market. Oh, I have to move back home. That's cool. I mean, I don't know how it is living on the border. I don't know if it's crazy down there, but that would be cool to have access to go. When I was younger, my dad lived in San Diego, and we went to Mexico. And like, I don't have a relationship with my dad. Like, I think he was trying. I was trying then, not him. He never tried. But I went there when I was 9. We went to Mexico, Tijuana. I remember it was crazy. It is like a different country. You walk in there, and it was cool though. But from what I heard, him and his friend only went there to use me to smuggle back some marijuana. That's what I was told. Well, my dad's friend ended up doing 10 years in prison, and he got out and become an entrepreneur, and he actually invented dog houses that go into the ground. So, yeah, if you see him, that's him. He turned his life around, and he's a religious man now. My dad, I don't know. He moved back to the area in Pittsburgh. About the time I moved down here, he never contacted me to say, hey, I'm back. So, yeah. So it was pretty cool going into Mexico. That was cool. But anyways, so I knew that if I was only making $1,500 a month during the busy season, during the busy couple months, and it was only busy a couple months here, and I said, I got to go back home. I don't want to. I loved it in Florida at the time. I was only here 6 months. So, and I found my apartment, and it was cheap, $700 a month. That includes all my utilities, and it was a 1-bedroom, downtown Cape Coral, on the main strip. Like, you can't beat it, you know. So I had to move back home. Now the decision was, do I move back home and save that money that I would be paying for the apartment, or do I pay for my apartment and have a place to come back to? So I paid that money. I paid my apartment, paid my rent every month for 6 more months when I was back in PA. I did the flea markets. And what do you know? Now this is when I had my own fragrances mixed in with the, knockoffs or whatever. So the flea markets, sales weren't the same. The flea markets were slower, but they were still better than Florida. I was still surviving. But the sales were down considerably, and I'm worrying, am I going to even be able to go back to Florida? So if you're just joining us, this is a long story of how Scentual Obsessions got started, where we came from, and what we do. But so yeah, I moved back home, doing the flea markets. Everything's doing good, hanging out with some friends, making new friends, having a blast at the flea market, and still surviving. Living with my mom in the middle of nowhere. That was boring, but I made the best of it. So my thing was, when I moved back to with my mom just for those 6 months, and I was doing the flea markets, I had it in my mind, I'm going to focus on online. So that's when I went from the flea market to online. I was advertising like crazy. I would come home from the flea market, I would advertise. The flea market was only Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I would try to find other ones like Tuesday, but they sucked. So I had 4 days to sit there in the middle of nowhere and advertise, try to get people to learn about my fragrances. And that's when I found the Facebook fragrance community. Like I said, I thought I was the only one doing this. So I started joining the groups. I got a couple laughs. What's this? But like I said, when I sent out fragrances to reviewers, I would post those reviews, and then people would become interested. And that's how it caught on. That's how I started making my own fragrances. That's where we came from. It's been a long journey, lots of up and downs, even to this day. Trying to run a store, things are even harder now than probably in the beginning. Because in the beginning, at least I had a full-time job. Everything from the business is extra, and but now it's a lot. It gets a lot harder when the busier you get. And now I got an employee, and I have to pay her. We got extra orders coming in. So things change over time, and that's been since I moved to Florida a month after Irma. 6 months later, moved back with my mom. 6 months after that, all right, back to Florida. And once I got here, I haven't left. And when I drove straight through all 3 times. The first time when I drove back, as soon as I hit the Florida line, it's an 18-hour drive. I hit the Florida line, I had a pounding migraine. It was the worst. I had an ice pack, put it on my head, and that melted. I didn't have no more ice. I made it to North Carolina. I'm 9 hours away. I'm halfway. Should I just pull over and get him a hotel? No, I kept going, man. I went. I made it all the way back, and my head was pounding. But yeah, 6 months later, moved back to Florida. Never making that drive again. I flew back for a friend's funeral. I don't like planes. I thought I did. Nope. I guess the older you get, you don't like planes, even roller coasters. I loved roller coasters. Last time I went on a roller coaster, me and a girl I went with, we both were dizzy the whole time. We didn't go on another roller coaster, either of us. So I don't know if it's because we're getting older. I'm 46 now. So I don't know, but yeah, that's how we started out. It was really just to make stronger fragrances for people and make them affordable instead of paying an arm and a leg for fragrances that don't last. Yeah, roller coaster. I used to. You know what? Call me lame now. I ain't gonna do any. I don't want to do any rides, man. They're all. You see all the stuff going wrong. No, it's just nope. It's a thrill, but I got enough thrill in my life without roller coasters and heights. I don't like heights to begin with. But I used to love roller coasters. I loved them. I don't know. I must be getting old. It's not the dizziness for me, it's the back pain afterward. Yeah, I didn't experience any back pain. I was dizzy. But then I told my friend about it because I went to Busch Gardens and he was telling me, oh, they got all these roller coasters. You know, I told him, I was like, yeah, man. I said, the first roller coaster I went on, I forget the name. I told him, I was like, we couldn't go on any other ones. I said, we were both dizzy. And he's like, I told him which one it was. He said, oh, you should have went on that one last. That's the one with the most turns and stuff, I guess. Most turns. And I was like, yeah, that didn't work out too good. Hey, what's going on, Onika? Is that how you pronounce it? How you doing? Hope you're doing good today. We got rough roller coasters. Yeah, we had the Steel Phantom. I think it's still there in Pittsburgh, Kennywood. That was fun. Steel Phantom was cool. But yeah, I don't trust any of those rides anymore. The older you get, life gets shorter, you know. I appreciate you stopping in. I'm just doing a video on how we got started. I pretty much finished it, I think. If there's anything anybody wants to know, you got any questions, let me know. I'll feel free to read them, answer any questions. What's up, Oda John? I got your order last night. I appreciate you. And we're going to throw some extra samples in. So if Gwen is watching this, look for his order. His name's John. And he put a note in the comments. So you'll have to go back through the comments. But there'll be a note thing there. But yeah, if you got any questions, let me know. So I'd say any obstacles I faced, there's a lot of obstacles. Number one, coming up with the perfect fragrance formulation. Labeling was a problem. I didn't know how to do labels. I started off going to, it was like Office Max or something. Like, I need some labels made. Making me some labels. They sucked. I had to cut the white out the outline. You know, I'm like, what's the point of getting these made? I gotta cut each label. So it was that. Startup money. You know, I didn't have much to start up with. I told you, I didn't come from money. I was broke growing up. I lived paycheck to paycheck, struggling, crying at nights, tired of the way I was living, couldn't pay my bills. But I was out there trying to do everything I could to turn my life around. That's why I tell people, in life, everything's about decisions. It's a mindset and decisions. If you have the right mindset, you will succeed. Because I had it in my mind. I didn't care what anybody said. I believed in my products, and nobody was going to tell me otherwise. I had haters, people that were supposed to be my friends, making fun of me. Oh, you're selling knockoffs, you know. Oh, you know. And then they're going out and buying the originals, posting pictures. Well, you know, like I felt like I would support my friend's business. They didn't even give me a shot. But then all of a sudden, my business takes off. My mom was like, I should have went into business with you. My best friend. I'm proud of you, you know. Wow, I didn't think it would take off. Then all these haters are coming back, giving me credit. You know, so I never... Oh, this is going to end in 5 minutes. What's it saying? What's this? Okay. So I think this live stream is going to end in 5 minutes. I don't know if I just redid it. But anyways, yeah, so... But what I'm saying is... a lot of people doubted me. Not many thought I would succeed, but in my mind, I was going to succeed, and I was going to do everything I could to succeed. If that meant posting 100 ads a day in different groups across the whole country, that's what I did. I didn't really know how like the algorithm and all that worked. I would join all these Facebook groups in different cities, try to get my name out there. But what really took me off was, what's up, AP Sprays? Hope you're doing good, brother. But what really took me off was the reviewers, the YouTube reviewers, and that's why I give them so much credit. The ones that are loyal and honest, not the ones who do it just to get paid. Yeah, if you want to get paid, that's fine. But at least be honest and loyal, and don't be a fraud, don't be a shill. You know, I tell people, give your honest review on my products. Because if you do a bad review on one, but you do a good review on the other, people's going to be like, all right, well, he's honest. At least he said there was a bad review, so this one must be good. South Texas. Okay, 956. Okay. That's SWM. That's where you're from, right? 956? It is. It is. I appreciate everybody. And that's why I do these discounts, giveaways, just to show my appreciation. It's not all about me making money. Yeah, I do got to make a living, but I also want to bring everybody high quality fragrances at an affordable price. So that's really my motto. Yeah, high quality, affordable, and then you can put long lasting, whatever, all that. But affordable and long lasting, great fragrances. That's the point. But anyways, I'm gonna get off of here. We have 2 promos going on today. Golden tickets. All right, this is the one we scratched earlier. Buy one, get one free. Any fragrance in our final edition section of the website. Make sure you add both fragrances to your cart. Use code BOGO123, and you're going to get the cheapest one for free. They're all pretty much the same price. And if you don't want to do that, across the site, use Golden 15 for 15% off your complete order through the entire site. I'm not trying not to get flagged. I don't know what to say. Site. I don't know. Anyways, this is Kevin. I got some things to do. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I appreciate you stopping in. What's up, Rustling? So, yeah, sorry, I'm getting off here. This live stream is going to automatically end, I think. I think that's how it works. It said I had 5 minutes left. But, yeah, I appreciate everybody stopping in. I'm going to try to re-upload this. This is a long video, but this is Scentual Obsessions. This is how we got started and where we came from. Hope everyone has a blessed day.